Hi and welcome to A World of Words. I'm Vanessa and let's talk about the books that I read in January of 2020.
Turning, pages keep turning, those pages, time flies when you've been reading.
First book I read was Between Burning Worlds by Jessica Brody and Joanne Rendell. So this is the second book in the System Divine series that is an alternate future YA sci-fi. And this is also kind of like Les Mis in space is one of the ways they describe the first book. It's definitely gotten away from that in the second book. So quite a few new characters were added to the cast and I really liked them. They definitely helped lighten the mood and brought so much needed levity to the story because the other three main characters, if you've read the first book, were all very serious characters. It also brought many more romantic options into the mix, but still, no one became a couple yet, which irritated me. Oh my gosh, I want more romance. Gosh darn it. This book was very fast-paced, much more so than the first book, and I really enjoyed seeing how much the world expanded with this book. And because this is a sequel, unfortunately, that's all I can really say without spoilers, but I highly recommend it if you like sci-fi or just like really good characters. It is a really fun book. Well, not fun, but like very well done book. Next book I read was Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. And I haven't read this book since I was little, so this was a fun one to revisit. Though I have watched the older miniseries and the newer Netflix adaptation, so I wasn't really surprised by anything that happened in this book because all of that was covered by both of those adaptations that I had seen, so I kind of knew what was happening the entire time. But I was surprised by how quickly time moved in this book. Entire months were summarized and I think she reached like 16 or maybe older by the time this one book ended. I noticed that the older TV adaptation followed that same pattern as well, whereas the new one took more time to flesh out the different events that happened. One thing I noticed in this book was that a lot of the fun events that Anne attended were skipped entirely, and all we really got was Anne telling Marilla about what had happened, which I thought was a kind of odd storytelling style, especially since in all of the creative writing classes I've been to, they go on and on about show don't tell, and this was literally her telling Marilla everything that happened. This book was first published back in the 1900s, so maybe that was a popular stylistic choice for the time. I haven't read that much from that time period, at least not in many years, so I can't say for sure, but I did notice that a lot. There were a couple things that surprised me about this book. The first one was how long it actually took her and Gilbert to become friends. They didn't even start being civil to each other until the very end of this book, and in both adaptation versions, they become friends a lot faster. Also, the book ended on a surprisingly depressing note for such like a cute and overall cheerful story, which was kind of interesting. But overall, it was a fun read, and Anne is such a sweet character. The next book I read was What I Like About You by Marissa Cantor. The concept of this book was pretty strange. It's about a girl who has created a popular YA book blog where she doesn't use her real name or ever show her face, but she still has a bunch of online friends, including a best friend, a boy named Nash, who she has never actually met in real life. But then she moves, and guess who just so happens to go to the same school as her? Nash. But Hal has social anxiety, so she doesn't tell him who she is, and the secrets end up causing all kinds of trouble. Now, Hal's anxiety is the only thing that made this weird plot even the least bit believable, because while she has so much confidence in her online persona, who has so many followers, and who has internet friends and connections with publishers, she has zero confidence in her everyday self as a human being. It's actually pretty heartbreaking how little confidence she has in herself. She doesn't tell Nash who she is, primarily because she's afraid that he won't like her as a person if he meets her, like, if he talks to her in real life, and then he won't even want to be friends with her online anymore, is her main argument for not telling him the truth. But obviously things get weird because she does end up becoming friends with him in real life, and she keeps having to pretend that she doesn't know things about him that he's already told her online. This book is not nearly as light and fluffy as it portrays itself. It deals with a lot of family issues, including loss and the death of a loved one, and Hal's anxiety and her struggle to accept herself. I did really enjoy a lot of the references to the YA book community, especially the madness that can happen on book Twitter, and the appreciation for YA fiction was really fun. But one of the issues that arose in this book Twitter in this universe was about adults reading YA literature. There are a couple moments when the characters insinuate that teen readers of YA literature, themselves included, don't like it when adults read YA literature and share their opinions online. Or just at all, I'm guessing. I'm not sure if this is a real life controversy, but it did feel pretty insulting as an adult who enjoys reading YA to have these characters acting like I shouldn't be allowed to read the same books as them. And in this book, a fictional popular YA author says that she feels her books can appeal to a wider audience and not just teenagers. And then the teens in the book get super offended, saying, oh, the teenagers who love your books aren't enough for you. And I don't know. Don't so many kids' movies say that it's fun for the whole family, trying to get more people to see the movie? Even J.K. Rowling claimed that Harry Potter wasn't written for kids. Everyone tries to say their work is universal. It just seems like marketing. Perhaps poorly done marketing in the instance of this book and the drama that it caused. But anyway, I'm probably thinking too much into this. It was just that as an aspiring YA author and adult reader of YA, I'm just curious if this is a real issue in the YA book community that I've somehow completely missed. But aside from all that, I really enjoyed this book. I flew through it in a day. I just had to see what happened with this crazy situation, and I did think it was a really cute book. And ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. As I'm filming this, it's actually not the end of January left. I still have about a week left in the month. But as I had already written down my thoughts on those previous books, I thought I may as well film the video because I was filming something else anyway. So I will actually be editing in my thoughts on the other books that I end up reading. If I end up finishing more than one book, I will edit them in here. I finished Empire of Dreams yesterday. Overall, I did enjoy this book, though it was pretty slow in terms of plot. It primarily focused on her training as a guard recruit, and while there was apparently a traitor somewhere in the Royal Guard who was poisoning people, nothing super exciting happened until like the last 50 pages or so. But I found the writing engaging, and I enjoyed the characters, and I even got a little emotional at the ending. If you like books about training and bonding through shared experiences and a little bit of mystery, then this might be exactly the book you're looking for. I ended up rating it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I almost forgot to mention that I also read Sailor Moon Eternal Volume 6 this month. I gave it back to the library, so that's why it slipped my mind as I was doing this wrap-up. But I did enjoy that book. I think I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars because I am an adult. I'm probably way older than the targeted age for this series, and I personally found it a little bit repetitive at this point. I feel like they're kind of like the villains are only all after the Millennium Silver Crystal, and I felt like that it's just kind of repeating itself at this point, and I really don't know how much longer the series goes on. So I was getting a little bit, like, I found it a little bit repetitive, and I'm repeating myself saying that it sounded repetitive. And also I don't like that the series focus seems to be completely shifted from, like, Usagi and her friends to Chibi-Usa and like the little family unit of her and Usagi and Mamo. I just find that I'm like, it's kind of weird because they're still teenagers and they have a daughter from the future, and it's like about their little family unit. And I just liked it better when it was about Usagi and her friends, because I feel like the other sailor soldiers don't. Well, sailor soldiers, are they sailors? Okay, sailor soldiers or sailor scouts? Anyway, you know, the other girls in their team, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, all of those people, don't really get hardly any page time, which is kind of sad. And it's all about like Chibi Usa, and I'm even at the part that I haven't read yet because I've seen the beginning of the show and read the beginning of the mangas multiple times in different editions. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. If you have read the Sailor Moon series and it gets significantly different after like like chapter 40s now, let me know and I'll probably continue reading. Otherwise, I may not continue with the series just because I feel like I kind of get it. So those are all the books that I read in January of 2020. Have you read any of these books? Let me know what you think of them. And also, what have you been reading this month? I would love to know. Please talk to me in the comments because it always makes my day. And I will see you with my next video. Bye!